What we're looking at here today, House Bill 77 is the one that was signed. It bans pride and other unsanctioned flags in schools and on government property. So House Bill 77 passed. It went through without Governor Cox's signature, but passed legislation nonetheless. So
that's a Utah bill.
Yeah, House Bill 77. It's a Utah bill.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
on the eve of that going into law, Erin Mendenhall, the mayor of Salt Lake City, decided that she was going to find a way to circumvent that law and introduced 3 city flags that are going to be sanctioned as city flags: a pride flag, a trans visibility flag, and a Juneteenth flag. And basically what she did is put a sago lily on them to make it specific to Utah, and she's going to unfurl them on the Salt Lake City Hall. Now, prior to her enacting that, she actually had a 45-minute closed-door talk with attorneys to receive advice and review pending litigation and talk about the deployment of security when she did this. So just some interesting things as I was looking at it. There are a few politicians. Dustin Gettle, mayor of Midvale, says he's still going to have his little pride flags in his office, but his office is secluded. He made a comment that he's worried if he puts up a picture of his husband, is he going to be sanctioned for that?
Ridicule for having a husband.
Right. Now the biggest issue I have here, okay, you've got a mayor of Salt Lake City that's circumventing a state law that's going into effect and finding a way to circumvent it. There are other council members and representatives that have chimed in on this. There's a council member, Darren Mono, out of District 5, and he was on the city council that helped to vote this in. Apparently the vote for Salt Lake City that Erin Mendenhall put up passed 7-0. And he actually said, it's no coincidence we have a majority of LGBTQ council members. So for Salt Lake City. Now, House Speaker Mike Schultz, who's a representative out of Hooper, he said Salt Lake City's move to bypass state law is a clear waste of time and taxpayer resources. House Bill 77 is about keeping government spaces neutral and welcoming to all. Salt Lake City should focus on real issues, not political theatrics.
Well, that's what I took it as.
And that's how I saw it. Trevor Lee out of Layton, he was one of the also sponsors of House Bill 77, was a little more bold with it. His statement was, does Salt Lake City really want to play these games? Good luck. And that's how I see it.
I'm glad there's some rebuttal coming back. I don't know. It prompted me to look up the duties of the mayor of Salt Lake City under the city's guidelines, and I don't know that what she did falls under the criteria of being mayor.
Right, I wouldn't know either. As I look at it, my opinion, and it seems to be chimed along with some of the people, this seems like political theatrics. Now in Erin Mendenhall's statement, she's claiming that it was to represent those communities. Trevor Lee out of Layton, Senator Daniel McKay, in a slapback on this move, created a picture of a LDS flag with the angel Moroni and a sago lily up in the corner, and basically said, gee, thank you, Salt Lake City. You're even going to be flying this so that you're representing all of our history and culture.
Nice.
This is the big point. Where does it stop?
Well, it don't. And it won't. If this is allowed to continue in its context the way it is today, the sky's the limit on what could happen. You know, I could make a flag, put a sago lily and on it, and take it to the Capitol and ask them to fly it. You know, because
Right,
the other flags are there.
right, and that's the thing. The mayor and the people in support of this circumvention of law are claiming it's to show that we support all people and that we are a welcoming community to all people. Well, you know me,
Well,
I did a little research here, Bones. You want to take a wild guess on the percentage of LGBTQ people in the state of Utah?
okay, a wild ass guess, a wag at it.
Yeah, swag. Sophisticated
It
wild ass guess. Throw your swag out there, Bones.
Okay, here's my guess. Inside the state of Utah, there LGB, what is it?
It's LGBTQ.
LGBTQ participants
What
or members?
percentage of citizens in the state of
Percentage.
Utah fall under the
I would
LGBTQ?
I would say around 13%.
Okay, I can tell you right now, you'll find varying figures. The actual figure is 3.7%,
Oh, that's
ranging
kind of low.
with the highest number at 6%. So
Wow, I was way off.
if we're talking 6% of Utah's population is LGBTQ, that means 94% is not. Who are these
But
politicians representing?
the 3%,
Well, it
um,
sounds to me like a personal mission, which may border on a
yeah,
hatch violation.
it could. Could. Um, so you get this going on. I mean, in some of the left states, it's been going on for quite some time. Up there where my daughters live in Oregon, it's to the point where they're afraid to put things up because they will offend the L that like have problems with their initials, even
Yeah,
the LGBTQ people,
right.
right? So they keep their lips and their actions in check as far as that goes.
Okay,
So
so
I
before we go farther into this, I want to qualify something here. I have no issue with the LGBTQ community. I have no qualms with them whatsoever. However they want to do that's their business. Okay. Uh, the thing I do have a problem with, being LGBTQ does not make you special. Doesn't make you special. It
no
makes you no different than anybody else walking down the street. And the fact that we need to throw up flags and recognize this small group of people, it just baffles me. I don't know
yeah,
why we
I'm
need to
baffled
have
too.
this on the forefront of our attention. You know what? Do what you want to do. Be who you're going to be. Keep it in your bedroom. Keep it out of my classrooms. Keep it out of my government buildings.
Right.
I don't need to hear
We
about it.
Yeah, we don't go around pushing. Well, I don't anyway. Go around pushing whatever I think and believe on somebody else. I do run with like-minded people. So I
Right,
have to say that.
right.
Um, but with what's going on, it's kind of a forceful act, and you're pushing it to the point where, like, let's say it goes from there and back into the classroom with the young people. You know, they're in their formative years. That's where what I worry about.
Right.
So peer pressure, and also if the education department is pushing this, what's going to happen? Kids are changing their minds, whether they believe they are or they believe they're not. It's because of the peer pressure.
Right. And they should be teaching academics in school. And I think our current federal administration is trying to do something about that when they're doing their studies and finding out that, what did you say the other day? Half of our students couldn't even read at their grade level.
Right.
Is it because we're not pushing academics anymore and we're too busy focused on indoctrinating children to specialists or specialty classes of people? I again, and I can't overstate this part of it enough. This discussion is not a bash on the LT or LGBTQ
Right.
community. It's not.
You're stuttering like me now.
Yeah. This is not intended to be a bash on that community. I have no issue with that community. I have no issue with any group of people based on their beliefs or preferences. How they go about it could make a difference for me. And to me, this issue, I'm gonna throw this at you real quick, Bones. You know, when we talk about this issue going on, the federal issue with deportation, the answer we hear is, when we talked about due process and we talked about some of these things, the answer coming back from the politicians that are bucking all of this is the law. You don't have to like it. You do have to follow it. If you don't
Right.
like the law, change it. Agreed?
Right.
So let me give you a little bit of history on the state of Utah and their code books. In 1973, a law was enacted that said two consenting adults could not have sex. If they did, it's called fornication. It was a Class B misdemeanor. That law was repealed by Governor Herbert in 2019. Just 6 years ago, it became legal for two unmarried consenting adults to have sex. Okay? In 1996, they took out a qualifier in the Sex Crimes Acts in the state of Utah that said married person's conduct exempt. They removed that, which meant that now all of these crimes applied even to husband and wife. Okay? So prior to 1996, it was impossible for you to be charged with raping your wife. Okay? But they repealed that and took that out in 1996. But let me tell you what law is still on the books. It's called sodomy. And sodomy is defined as any sexual act involving the mouth, anus, or genitals of any person. So any oral sex, any anal sex is sodomy. It's a Class B misdemeanor. Now, if the participant is unwilling, it becomes a second-degree felony. So by state statute, we have a group of people that by their own admission, lesbian, gay, what are they talking about? It's a sexual preference. The only way they could have sex is the mouth, anus, or genitals of one against the other. So we're talking about a whole group of people here that are violating the state law in Utah. They are committing a Class B misdemeanor just by claiming and believing what they believe. Now, I don't necessarily have to agree with this law, like we've talked about. Do I agree with the law? No, I don't. But don't you think that Mayor Mendenhall and some of these other politicians that are wasting our tax dollars to hang flags and circumvent a state law maybe should be focused on changing that law and trying to make it not illegal for this community? Now, again, when the state law was repealed on fornication in 2019, Governor Herbert qualified it by saying, I don't think you'd ever get anybody arrested under this law, and if you did, I doubt you would ever get a conviction. The law makes no sense. Well, I would say the same thing with the sodomy law. Now, I understand the felony sodomy if it's an unwilling victim. But the fact of the matter, Bones, is under current state law, even with your wife, if you have oral sex, you are violating the law.
No comment.
Now, I'm just going to say, agree or disagree with the law, it's the law. We should be following the law. I've got a group of politicians here that are enforcing special treatment and recognition to a group of people that just by claiming that title are violating the laws of the very state these politicians are running.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to agree with the law. I'll throw the same thing that's been thrown at every administration with everything going on. You don't have to like the law, you have to obey it. And if you don't like the law, change it. Maybe that's where these politicians should be spending their time, doing something worthwhile to help that community, not placing a target on their back.
Right. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't know where this circumvention of laws comes from, other than, what's the mindset in that, which is hard for me to understand, but work towards changing things to make it better rather than throwing the flag up with the lily on it. What does that do?
Well, what it does, the intention when you listen to the speech of Mayor Mendenhall and Dustin Gettle and some of these other council members, Darren Mono, that have backed this circumvention bill, they're saying it's to show that they are an accepting community, welcoming and inviting all people to come live in peace and harmony.
You don't get a warm fuzzy from it.
However, let me read to you the statement made by Governor Cox when he passed or did not veto House Bill 77 and let it go through. While I think it's wrong for city and county officials to fly divisive flags, I believe that elections have consequences, and the best way to stop that behavior is to elect people who believe differently. All this bill does is add fuel to the fire. Now, I have to agree with his statement. I think that, again, we're talking at best 6% of the population of the state, and we're going to go against 94%. Now, I shouldn't say go against 94%, because of that 94% that don't claim LGBTQ, there are several that would support it, and several, like myself, that have actually no issue with it. The problem comes when you are forcing a representation and the ideology of it upon 94% of the population, including our youth.
Right.
This doesn't belong on the forefront of our government buildings and schools.
That's the part that bothers me. It's like growing up and learning. So we had the Utah flag But the main flag that flies above the Utah flag is the flag of the United States of America. The flag of the United States of America has a lot of meaning, and it is all inclusive of all people,
Right.
all walks of life, all genders, all sexual preferences, all
Well,
it
as we found
represents.
out when we talk about the U.S. Constitution, it's all people. It doesn't
Correct.
say all people who believe this. All people. Don't even
Except
have to be a citizen. All
right,
people. So it is an all inclusive flag that represents the pride of this country.
right. And I think that's the point of the flying the flag and pushing to have the flag flown, the United States flag flown at the government institutions and inside the school districts.
Right.
Um, because we're the United States of America, not the
Not the divided
dispersive
states of
Hispanic.
America.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, right.
yeah, and that's where the problem comes in. For me, anyway, when you say you need this additional flag to show that you are accepting of a specific culture, it's included in the American flag. The American flag,
Right.
enough said. You don't need another flag. And
Yeah.
when you throw another flag in as a subset, what you're doing is you are segregating them and saying, oh, they're not covered under your flag. They need their own flag so that everybody knows we include them. I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree with it too because they're already included in what the United States represents, what the flag of the United States represents.
Exactly. And the flag of the great state of Utah. It represents industry. It represents what the state stands for. But it's all inclusive of all citizens of the state, of the cities. They're all inclusive flags. I believe when you start, and I like Governor Cox's description, they are divisive flags because they
Right.
show division.
Correct.
It's counterproductive to what's trying to be thrown out there as a message. By
Yeah.
the mere
You know,
fact
and it,
that this issue grabbed me hard when I read this.
yeah, I was upset with it too. Um, I don't know that it's an unnecessary thing, and I just don't know how the mayor can put themselves in the position of taking control of that and trying to circumvent what is law. I don't understand that.
Especially when it's an
Uh,
incoming law that they just had input on. And they
right.
obviously
And what would
lost
happen?
that battle.
What would happen, or what has happened every time I've tried to circumvent a law?
Exactly. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And yet, these politicians are wasting our tax dollars, dividing our communities, not bringing them together. They're dividing the communities by stating there is a division. They're not Americans, apparently. They're not Utahns, apparently. They're
Yeah. What?
LGBTQ people. No,
Yeah.
they're Americans and Utahns. They're not special. They're
Yeah.
not different. They're no different than you or I. They have a different
Right.
belief. Is that to say every religion should have a flag represented up there? What if I believe in a sports team? I'd be willing to bet that you've got well over 6% of Utahns that are Oakland Raider fans, Dallas Cowboys fans. What if we want a flag up there with a Sago lily on it?
Yeah.
Are you going to
That could be
discriminate
put in
against
there.
us?
That could be put in there also if this is allowed. Um, that was my next question. So can she just go ahead and throw those things up?
Well, and I
You know,
think it's going to be challenged. I believe it was Mike Lee when he said that does she really want to play these games? Good luck. Followed that with a statement saying, I can't wait till we get back into session tomorrow. And prior to even trying to circumvent, Mayor Mendenhall had conferred in a closed door meeting with attorneys for 45 minutes, already anticipating litigation and argument on this.
Yeah.
Now, what is the amount of tax dollar that's going to be wasted on this issue?
Well, if the mayor actually took care of business as a mayor, we would be focusing more on improving the infrastructure of Salt Lake City to handle the mass developments that are going on. Improving the roads, improving the sewer system, improving the electrical systems, improving everything that goes along with the building that's happening and has been happening in Salt Lake City for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Rather than letting that go to like second seat to a new flag that circumvents the new law.
Right. And the other part of that, as I was reading through her article, she's talking, I think there was a statement by one of them in there that Utah is one of the fastest growing states in the United States, which supports exactly what you're saying. Why aren't we looking at funding infrastructure? Why are we wasting time on a divisive subject that you know is going to go into controversy? You know it's going to have laws. You know that it's going to target this community, not make them feel welcome. It's going to get everybody else up in arms. Even those that are supportive of that community are going to be up in arms
Yeah.
going, why? Why are we wasting our tax dollars on this?
Yeah, so you get your way and you have your flag, but the sewer system is backing up in the middle of town.
Right. You got all these people that you're welcoming to come in, or that you're claiming placing these flags up, or making them welcome to come in, which I don't know why they need a flag. They're welcome to come in anyway.
Right.
I don't think anybody's stopping them. This isn't the 60s and 70s where, everything had to be behind closed doors and people used to talk about going out and beating them up. And that stuff isn't happening anymore.
Or in the
We
beginning
have
when Utah started.
we have a very diverse population in Utah. It's diverse religiously, it's diverse racially, it's diverse sexual preference wise, it's diverse in any way you can think of, and people get along just fine. I don't know why we need to segregate and divide people by trying to
Yeah, they talk about
recognize a
you know, and
group,
then
again, 6% tops in Utah. We're trying to represent
they,
that group.
they they talk about creating division, and putting it on one party against the other party as far as political goes. But then inside of that, you have the politicians and the elected politicians that are doing things that enforces more division amongst the people.
And I do see that taking place, and it is it's been a political strategy for years. When you think about it, divide and conquer. If I can keep my people
Right,
from
right,
grouping up against me, then they're busy fighting with each other. I can kind of do whatever I want to do.
right.
My biggest problem with this, again, why are we wasting the taxpayers' money on this? If you want to help this community out, if you really support this community, and again, we're talking, LGBTQ, you want to support
And
that
you would think
community, how about let's
you
look
would
at
think
changing the law?
you would think an elected official would see it that way also. I would think that, right? Because you put your trust and you give the elected official the vote to do the right thing, you know.
Yeah, do
And
something that's
why are we
actually going to benefit that community, not target them.
right, right. Anyway, I don't know, I mean, I don't know what the solution is or what the outcome's going to be, but I'm with you as far as it's a waste of time and taxpayer dollars.
Well, And I think it's going to create more division. It's going to create more problems because you're bringing it right back out on the forefront as a major issue again.
Right.
Um,
And then
you,
one
you,
side will think that they get a win or lose, and if they lose, and what will happen there?
right, because now, okay, House Bill 77, I'm sure that upset the LGBTQ community that pride flags are no longer allowed in schools or government buildings. I'm sure it upset them.
Yeah.
Uh, I personally, like we've discussed, the American flag covers it all. You know what? Fly your pride flag at your home, in your garage, on your wall. Fly your pride flag. Wear your pride shirts. Do what you want to do. I don't care. It doesn't matter. That doesn't offend me that you have a belief any more than somebody walking down the street with a Kansas City Chiefs jersey on. I have no problem with any of that. What I do have
So,
problems with are this demanded special treatment. You're not special.
right. So you can look at different leaders in history, such as Martin Luther King, had a great cause, you know,
Mm-hmm.
great cause, and he had a lot of speeches and knowledge on the cause, but he was a patriot to the bone
Exactly.
because he believed that the flag of the United States represented all people.
And I have to agree with his belief. And
Yeah, I mean,
interestingly enough, when you research Martin Luther King, he didn't create racism, and his issue wasn't even about racism.
no,
His main forum was when the laws of man and the laws of God go hand in hand, we will have a peaceful country.
yeah, that's what he focused on,
I
you
don't
know.
see
So
anything in there about race. He saw that trying to make race an issue was going to be divisive.
right, and so let's try to pull the people together on the subject, make changes that will benefit all people.
Right. And that's where we need to be focused. Again, I can't reiterate enough. This is not a bash on that community. I have plenty of people that I know and love that are members of that community, and I support them 100%. I have no issues whatsoever. Love them to death, man. They're great people. Just like all the rest of the people I know that are great people that aren't a part of that community. I think that these issues are leading to division. If you really want to help the community, do something that helps the community. A point that I was going to make, um, another phrase, because I'm big on phrases, I'm big on quotes. You want to win the battle, run silent, run deep. You, you don't bring things to the forefront if you want to win a battle. You
No,
quietly go about your business. You take care of it. You focus on what it is that needs to change, and you make that change.
or take
And
steps towards it,
right,
you know.
right. You make your steps toward it. But these are divisive steps. I don't see them as in any way, shape, or form trying to bring communities together.
No, to me, like you said, it's divisive, especially if that they, I don't understand it, but so the law removing the pride flags, the LGBTQ flag, and that from schools and government places should just be that cut and dry. Why would we want to change circumvent to put them back up?
Right. Uh, why are we looking to circumvent any laws that are being put in? Obviously, by a
Why?
majority, if it passed, you had your
Yeah, and
input.
being I look at a lot of the government elected government officials and stuff. They don't have don't even have the U.S. flag in their office or about their presence. So why don't they change their belief or whatever that is? Why don't they support the U.S. flag? Why don't they why don't they take what is in context with the U.S. flag, where it's all inclusive of everybody, promote that, and then move on with the day-to-day business that they're supposed to be taking care of?
Exactly. Exactly. Let's
How
get back.
how
Let's,
simple? Yeah, how simple would that be? You know?
well, perhaps it's too simple because the reality is, when I was growing up, when you were growing up, we said the Pledge of Allegiance every day in school. We had pride in the flag. We sung the American anthem in school. We did those things, and it brought community together because no matter how different we were all Americans. And we all had pride in that flag and in our country. And that's what it needs to go back to. We've lost that. Everybody wants their special subculture, their subgroup to be recognized.
That's okay. You can do that. It's like you want to be a member of a motorcycle club. You want to be a member of a baseball team. You want to be a member of automotive industry club. Whatever it is
A
that you want to do on
church,
your side. And according to the statutes with the U.S. flag, you can fly the U.S. flag, and you can fly your flag underneath the U.S. flag. It just has to be smaller.
right,
No big deal, right? And you do that on your own. You don't do it in the classroom. You don't do it on the government ground. You don't.
right.
I see that all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, see that all the time because people want to represent themselves on what they believe in and what they're doing, and that's okay. Do it outside of the government, the schools. You know,
exactly. Exactly. And we do have diverse culture. And these divisive things are just driving us apart. And these politics, I mean, you don't even have to look out into the public right now. Look at the divisiveness it's causing just among our politicians.
right, right. You get the feedback, like you've read of some of the feedback from some of the other government officials over Mayor Mendenhall's decision. You know,
Right.
um, so there's division right there. Boom, boom,
Well, and the thing that got
triggered.
me, the thing that brought this to my attention, okay, there was a Facebook post about it. And I started reading the comments. And I got to tell you, man, this is creating division. This is
Yeah.
this is this has poked the hornet's nest, and no good can come of that. You're not going to accomplish peace and harmony by poking a hornet's nest, and
So
they've
you
definitely
just
done that here.
uh, with everything that we covered on Mayor Mendez and her flag uh, circumvention, I just wanted to say that we do love and support all people coming from Padre Havoc and Bones. We'd encourage you to call in or to get in on Discord and give us some of your thoughts and feedback. But we're here to support you as individuals, and we're here to make changes in the right direction.
Exactly, and we've talked a lot. It started with House Bill 77, which banned the pride flags. Uh, Maybe that's what poked the hornet's nest, and Mayor Mendenhall is doing her circumvention in response to that. But in either case, this is not the solution. It's not the way to peace and harmony. We support and help all people. Again, I can't clarify enough. This has never been a bash on any LGBTQ community or person that has that belief. This is how do we handle things right and actually do things to benefit the community and bring people together. We would definitely love to hear your feedback on our thoughts and to hear your thoughts. and see if we can't come up with some type of a solution as people, because obviously our politicians are not going to lead us in that direction.
That's a shame. So stay positive, everybody.